Calling you a radical. Don't touch this subject matter, Kevin Blanche. Whatever you do, there's the scientist, cause of death, and calculating cause of deaths, and getting the real numbers. So you'll get, there's some trolls out there stalking me and telling me, oh, Kevin Blanche, the rate of cancer has declined dramatically. No, it hasn't. That's a total lie. This is how liars figure for. So the rate of cancer had a decline versus population for 25 years until Fukushima happened. You go right to the CDC's own numbers. Now I have access to them. I get in there, boy. I know 540,000 people this year have already died from cancer. Now, cancer started, the CDC came out in 2011, right after Fukushima. Oh, that's just again another Kevin Blanche coincidence. Tide pool's dead, all coincidence. Heat bubble, the Weather Channel's even using my terminology now, calling it the heat bubble. We got to get some fucking rain. I guess I'm going to do a rain dance. I'll do it at the Spiral Jetty. But we got to get some fucking rain. This is a catastrophe. This heat bubble over the Western, and I spend, enough time in D.C. I'll be there here in a couple weeks. That taking my turn at the peace vigil, they can't turn it off. It's a bubble. So again, the truth. Scientists are mystified, they're baffled, they're puzzled, they're stumped, they're perplexed. Longevity started headed the other way. Again, another Kevin Blanche coincidence post Fukushima. Tide pool's dead. Salmon will collapse in 2016 on cue. Oh, they collapse. By the way, I want to clarify something. When I said the Chinook had a little bounce, I did that video 3 years ago, found it, and just threw it up because, I'm a broken record. The Chinook, the Coho. The Coho have epically collapsed now. Just again, another Kevin Blanche coincidence. They're all Kevin Blanche coincidence. All post Fukushima, Fuktonian. So, Trump's diagnosis. It just goes to show you. As you know, I call Fukushima because nothing else matters. The great equalizer. It doesn't care if you're a Republican. It doesn't care if you're a Democrat. It doesn't care if you're black or white. Actually, the death rate in the African American community is higher. Now, there's something that needs to be explored through the science, which I'm working on it. Is it geopolitical? Part of it is it, I can dive in. That's another dissertation. But I'm working on it. So, cause of death by law in this country was set in concrete, especially post the Spanish flu, because the same demographic played out in a much more radical way. Same thing. So post the Spanish flu, laws were passed. Not only because the government lied for decades. So these laws were passed that by law you have to put a loved one's obituary in the paper, in a publication. By law. You have to list the cause of death. Now, we still have pseudo de facto. The medical examiner has to list. Now, here's the shamockery. They've gone to work on that in the last 10 years. Changed all that. Oh, it's nobody's business. My friend, he was a gun-toting, freaking tough guy. I'm really close friends with his wife. He died at 51 of ML, and the reason I know that is she talked to me, because I'm head of these support groups, and said, a lot of things too. This is difficult because a lot of early cancer diagnoses quickly end up in suicide. A lot of diagnoses end up reported as a lung cancer. That's why lung cancer crisis so dramatically. That's where it finally kills you. Like you have AML leukemia, because the big tissues, the lungs, that'll go into the lungs. That's where the medical examiner is key. So they've changed all these laws. Now in New York, I always thought that they were the toughest, and it still had to be there so people like me can find out the truth. Well, I'll just ask this, and this is taboo from what I hear. You can't ask this. What killed Donald Trump's brother? Google it. Google it all you want. You can Google anybody you could possibly dream of that has any, does he have celebrity status by pseudo de facto? Of course he does. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal's sister just died. Sure shit. You can look it up. She died of cancer, leukemia. I mean, anybody you can find out. It's there. Not his brother. So that's my point. I mean, these are important stories. They're really important. So we can get the real hard number. So, fact. Cancer, the CDC comes out in 2012 and says we expect cancer to increase, the rate of cancer, the people diagnosed with cancer, this decade by 24%. Fact. This is my work. It has increased by 38%. And that's with the underreporting. Death via cancer? Our cancer survival rate is exponentially better. I mean, I would have been dead if I got cancer just even a few years earlier. I have AML de novo, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is, if just a few years later, would have been a guaranteed lock. Death, which I'm a 1%er, but still, even with that happening, death via cancer is going psycho. People say, oh, you got to integrate the age demographic. Well, I can debunk that too. The CDC has their own government data out on young people's cancers, and the exponential curve, which I call it the, environmental Fukushima curve, that's what I've named it, is showing the rate of cancer in people under 40 years old is so extreme and radical, just like this. Under 30 years old, straight to the moon. This is under 30-year-olds' rate of cancer. Now, at that age, being diagnosed with cancer is psycho. Now, the CDC comes right out and says that they see these numbers, and they say that if you're under the age of 35 years old in the United States, they estimate by the year 2040, those people will be getting cancer, 1 out of 2 women and 1 in 3 men. Think about that. Think about that. Now, again, all another Blanche coincidence. You can run from me. You can hide from me because I hate all these political parties there be. These fires that are going to California. Again, another Blanche coincidence. Kevin Blanche, March 2011. They're lying. These are full-blown out meltdowns. Never happened before. It's going to release an energy. They made the day decision. It plumed over, so Obama was flown out of the country. I'll tell you one thing that really disturbs me the hardest is all the right-wingers. I voted for Obama. And I'll tell you why, because I'm a peace activist. That's how I got this scar across my face. I mean, hello, I'm part of the peace vigil across from me. Peace. Obama voted against both wars. Hillary had voted for both wars. That's how he got elected. He was a sham artist. He scammed her. He betrayed me. I turned on him like a wolf. I called him Barry. I really didn't turn on him until 2012 because the dance was going on in Fukushima. I thought, well, this guy, because his mother had died of cancer. I'm like, oh, he'll come forward. Same with Mike Lee. His dad, they'll come forward. Because my dad died of young cancer. I know how bad it hurts. My loved one, I know that wound stays with you forever. I thought, apparently those sociopaths have no conscience. Mike Lee has COVID. Mike Lee kicked me off Medicaid. We just had this discussion at the hospital. One of my friends, I was at the oncologist just now, and I run into one of my friends I grew up with, and I'm like, I don't know, what the hell are you doing here? My liver's gone. I got a tumor this big. In the liver? Yeah. Getting ready to start my radiation chemo, and I says, come here, let me take a picture of you while you still got hair. And he's a tough fucker, Mike. He says, I've watched your path, Kev. I know what you went through. Well, I says, you're tougher than me. And he says, nobody's tougher than you. And I says, you are. You just don't know it yet. These are fucking wars. So, I'm in the bone marrow transplant, dying of leukemia. It's going on, my platelets won't recover. I'm going through the chemo war at my gallbladder. Nightmare. And, Finbo Peterson, I'll never forget. He says, Kevin, I says, I'll do it organically. I was drinking the mother. Everybody, organic. He says, if you either don't get that taken out, I'll put you down on the table and cut it out with a pocket knife. Joking, you know. So he scheduled me. He says, we're going to schedule over here at LDS and we're going to have it cut out on May 2nd. May 1st, they call me. 2015. Kevin, we just did our last minute check. You don't have any insurance. I says, I'm on Medicaid. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So I call the hospital. They're digging through whatever. Yeah, you know, you're on Medicaid. So finally, I get a call back from Fimble himself. He says, you ain't going to believe this, Kevin. And I says, what? Mike Lee has kicked everybody, all single males in the state of Utah on his Obamacare out of the... Get the fuck out of here. So they won't do surgery on me. It almost cost me my life. I was out of money, as you know. You know, and LDS cut me off treatment. They tried as long as they could. I love those people up there. We just had my young one of my daughters is trying to rebrand herself right now, like everybody is, because it's an unemployment nightmare, and she's taking the CNA. And I says, look, the CNAs are the greatest people in the world. The CNAs at LDS, you know, the bedpan cleaners, they're more than that. They talk to you. They're with you. I had one named Melanie who just retired, and I'm like, she says, I will never become an RN. She says, I want to do the dirty work. I want to be intimate with these patients. It's so powerful. She was the greatest. She used to give me pep talks, encourage me. My gallbladders, you know, 2 years ago blew up. On Earth Day, almost killed me. Mike Lee is so evil. This is a guy who told me, you can look up the interview, yeah, Kevin, my dad was a downwinder that got caught illegally blinging in the Italian waste here. I'm the guy that caught him. I'm the guy that had the camera. That's where I was when Fukushima happened. When Fukushima happened, I was in the Energy Solutions dump site protesting. Get home, I'm like, oh, that camera that was in, you know, I always misspeak and say the Chinese, see, that was in the fucking Pacific. That's activists that had that there. Chinese activists, you know, in international waters. Because they would have lied about that. But the camera don't lie. This is, again, my historic work. And I'm not a YouTube vlogger. I'm not. But I have to put, because they've captured the PhDs. What do you think Aaron Swartz was doing at MIT Media Lab? You know, who I knew Aaron Swartz. It's not a coincidence that all is tied around Fukushima. I'm here to tell you. MIT is the head of the snake. Oh, yeah. Edward Snowden hands the chip to her, Laura, the MIT Media Endowment's billionaire's daughter. Oh, yeah. She's a fucking artist. The art community should be fucking ashamed of themselves. What they've done. There's been no really important artist or any important work since Lenin died. No, I take it back. Since Warhol died in 87. Nothing. Zero. It's all club. So my work is paramount. Why do we not know what killed Trump's brother? Again, the Trump diagnosis, whatever. Very interesting. But again, it's and my work, again, another Blanche coincidence. I predicted even the virus is going to come from the sea. She's going to fight back. My theory, my hypothesis, you know, all my other work's been proven, is that COVID-19 is a mutation from the Fukushima disasters into the seafood. You know, it's showing up in seafood. I mean, I think it's pretty powerful and pretty strong that that's exactly what it is. But, you know, they lie. They lie on death to cover it up for who? People like Bear Monsanto. People lie for the nuclear energy. I was in the bone marrow transplants with two guys that worked at the nuclear reactors, the bribed nuclear reactors in Illinois. They were in there, about my age, both of them. I was head of the support group. They were all come by. I says, well, you know, my work from the 90s proves that if you live around a nuclear reactor, you work in a nuclear reactor, your statistical probability of dying of leukemia. It's the same with a railroader. It's the same with an airplane mechanic, benzene in the fuel. But this is from nuclear reactor is 16 times higher than the mean. Oh, no, that. I said, yes, it is true. I said, what do you think you're doing here, both of you? And they worked at the same plant, you know, about the same age. They knew each other, you know. They're at LDS, which because it's an elite freaking unit. Fimbo Peters from Copenhagen, Denmark. He's in Boise, Idaho, by the way. Follow where the work's at. He's a great freaking doctor. He saved my life. They wanted to argue with me. They both died so fast. You know, Billy Johnson posted something. He says, I'll show you the immunity. And he showed a picture of a bunch of vegetables. Oh, it's your diet. It's more than that. It's your spirituality. If I haven't proven, I was given 2 months to live 9 years ago this week. 9 years ago. If this vlog hasn't proved how you survive it, fight back against the fuckers that did it to you. You know, so this is a big problem, what's going on. It's nobody's business how my loved one. It's everybody's business. You don't die. I mean, listen, my friends, I see it all the time. I see it every day here. Died at 52, died at 53, natural causes. You don't die at 52 or 53 natural causes. You don't even die at fucking, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg fucking died of pancreatic cancer. You know, she's in her 80s, still, cancer's cancer. But the cancer rate in our youth is off the hook, which I call it the great equal. It doesn't give a fuck about your political dogma. Don't give a fuck. So, this is sad times we live in. The fucking denial of fucking the Fukushima disaster is deadly, albeit it's not Kamala, it's Kamala. That's coming right from our mom, who I knew. Livermore one. I did so much protesting at Livermore for somebody fucking. Oh yeah, she worked there. Cancer research PhD. Huh. She died of cancer in 2009. Rachel Carson. They used to call me in the bone marrow time. Kevin Blanche, you're going to be the new Rachel Carson. Who was the greatest, by the way. The fucking greatest. Remember her little drawings and what? The scientist, artist. The greatest. Rachel Carson. I says, I'm not martyring myself for no one. I plan on beating this fucking thing. And I plan on fucking living. And by the way, anybody who's lost someone of cancer, only the good die young. Well, except for Judge Lady Barbara. And even the adversaries that Gunnar counts me in the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, I would never wish that on them. They wish it on themselves. It's called karma. No more nukes. So stand tuned. What did kill Trump's brother? How come we can't see that? Stand tuned.